Hi. Uh, Hi, my name is Yulia. Let me introduce myself. I am a Director of Engineering here at Hystax. And today, the theme of our training is deployment across services and networking. This is the second training we're doing. You know a little bit about the product, I believe. We've already had some overview around the interface in our previous session. And today we're going to talk more deeply about the deployment details, networking details, and actual services that Acura consists of. Uh, Feel free to send your questions, and I will read them and, of course, answer. Um, so, yeah. What we're going to discuss today, uh, some more details. The agenda is the following: internal services scheme overview, first of all. What components actually Hystax Acura has, and what they're responsible for. Preparation for a deployment. A couple of words about service networks and what needs to be done to actually start Acura without any issues. Um, we'll talk more deeply about security groups with their required rules, what ports the solution needs for, um, how to actually deploy a controller from the provided image. We'll check out the network scheme and pass together the initial configuration with the details where it actually to get all the resources from the cloud. So that's the main scheme of Acura. Actually, quite a lot of services, as you may see. Um, Actually, Acura is like a set of Docker containers. It has quite a lot of Docker containers. They are managed by Kubernetes, and each of them has its own particular purpose. Um, the green ones, they are internal services. They run inside the Acura controller node, like these ones. The red ones are external services of the target cloud that we do interact with, and the blue ones are external client services that that are not inside the controller itself, but operating with the controller. Um, a couple of words about the services themselves. So the main service that a user interacts with is our web UI. It's called Acura Control Panel. That stands for ACP, and that's the interface of the solution. And the main point of contact for ACP for the interface is our REST API. It's like a heart of all business logic, and it that operates the controller itself. It provides access to all Acura resources. So our solution is fully covered with the REST APIs calls. So you can easily use APIs to include automation of Acura to your system. And each service that is exposed to the customer is also covered with REST API. The next service that is also quite important is receiver. It provides interface to upload the data. So it handles data requests from replication agents. It handles optimization of replication and so on. This service, it can be scaled if the data flow is pretty large, it can be easily scaled up inside the controller. So as you may see, the flow is the following: one of replication agent, and your replication agent, it sends data to Acura controller. How it looks like from the user point of view, it actually sends data to the receiver, and the receiver itself, it forwards the data to cloud agent. So one more service that is like a twin brother of receiver, it's Stash. It's called Stash. It provides an ability to download the data from Acro. From Acro cluster, and the service is mostly used during failback operations to get the data from the failover machines and put this data to the failback side. Talking about the orchestration, as far as you know, the solution provides orchestration to start failover machines in some particular order. Um, we forked OpenStack Heat project a long time ago for orchestration, and we added the resources to that fork of Heat to launch and configure machines on the target site. To build disks in the target sites, perform V2V, and all such operations, they are managed by Heat. Two services related to Heat API and Heat Engine, running nearby inside the Acura controller. Um, the next thing that is also quite important, next service, is our auth service that provides authentication for external clients, for some internal services also. The service itself and the authentication that we provide is pretty granular, and each user can be set with some specific set of roles if that's required. That all is controlled by auth. One more container that we have. It's etcd container. It stores cluster information, cluster configuration, like network, whether the cluster itself is for migration or for disaster recovery, and so on. The IP addresses of the solution, SSL certificates, and so on. All this is stored in the etcd, inside the etcd. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is the report service. We store events in MongoDB and reports in InfluxDB. So we get statistics about replications, about speed, and so on and so forth. And all these statistics is stored in Influx. So as for the notifications, we have also a separate service that's providing an ability to send notifications to end customers. We for now we're doing it via emails, and we have plans to expand it with the webhooks, webhooks, so it can be easily integrated with also in our systems. The emails themselves, they can be configured where to send some notifications about only failed events, some successful events, or even all the events to some specific users. All of this is set from the interface point of view and stored uh, in the database, and then the authentication service, it's getting all of this from the interface. Um, the next thing is that is also quite important. I know you all already heard about it. It's Cloud Agent. Um, uh, that's like a service VM that is also running in some target project or target cloud nearby, and running writing the data to the storage. The Cloud Agent itself, it also um, consists of several Docker containers running inside, and these Docker containers are also updated with the whole cluster update. It's like a data proxy. I mean, the Cloud Agent itself, it's like a data proxy that provides an interface to write the data to the target volume. I'm gonna repeat the flow one more time. In general, replication agent, it gets the data from the source machine, it sends it to Acura controller to receiver in particular, and a receiver connects to Cloud Agent to actually write data to the storage. Um, one more thing is that we have several services that are used mostly for some administration purposes. Um, PHP is like a WebUI for the database that is used for some debugging and so on. Acrodoc container is a container with accurate documentation that is available by clicking the help button from the web interface. Um, Agent downloaders, it's like a set of services for each type of replication agents, and it's holding the agent image and also injecting appropriate configs to agent installer. So once you talking about the UI, when we're moving along the flow to download the agent, we specify like a group, for example, to which some particular machines needs to be discovered, and also during this flow, the information about the specific customer is also passed to this service, and it's injecting all of this information to replication agent configuration files. ELK service. So we're using Elasticsearch and Kibana for our log management, and all of the services um, that the solution consists of, they are sending all of the logs to this ELK code. Um, we have a limit for the logs, 10 GBs, and a cron job that is running inside this container to rotate the logs. One more thing that we use, one more service is Grafana. We use it for statistics. So as Influx DB itself stores the statistics about um, replication speed, replication amount of data that was sent. All of this is visualized with Grafana. And graphics actually have information and provide information about some sent blocks of data, for example, and speed and so on. Um, Mostly that's how the solution looks from the backend, and a couple of notes that are pretty important here. So as I mentioned, all internal services, they are running as Docker containers. They are orchestrated via Kubernetes. And That provides us an ability to easily scale our solution. So we also provide an ability to set an HA cluster. That's quite important in case of disaster recovery, of course, in case of failure of one node. If I have, for example, HA cluster consisting of 3 nodes, one node becomes unavailable, and the other 2 nodes are running fine without any downtime and so on. And for disk recovery, of course, that's rather a crucial case. Um, the next thing is that the status of our internal services can be seen using kubectl get pods command in Acro controller host console. So here I connected to my Acura running in Azure, and I can get the state of my pods to get the system is actually running. As you may see, yeah, quite a lot of pods that we talked about. And all of them are either in the running state or in the completed states. The end user, so you, for example, you may also SSH to Acra and also get the status of the pods running using the user that is available. And one more thing that is quite important to add an SSH key during the deployment, but we're going to mention it a little bit later to access SSH of Acra. Each internal service logs its activity to Elasticsearch and LK stack. And one thing that I also want to mention is that, of course, our LK can be configured the way to work with some external LK, for example, that you do have. And we can adjust the log stash to work with the external Kibana and so on. Several words about what needs to be prepared from the target point of view, from a target cloud point of view, to successfully start using Acra. We recommend to create a resource group for Acra and configure a network in subnet. In this group, the thing is that in Azure, for example, Acro works within some specific resource group that is also defined during the initial configuration. And in this way, all the resources that are consumed by it are easily can be easily found like from the resource group. Two components that Acro consists of the main controller that has all the services that we've previously mentioned, and Acra Cloud Agent. It's deployed automatically by Acra to the specified cloud during the initial configuration. So the deployment of Cloud Agent itself, it happens on the initial configuration stage. Where we provide information to Acro about the target cloud, about its subscription ID, about some a resource group that Acro will work on, and so on and so forth. So a couple of important things also here are that the network itself, it should contain only one subnet. Fire client should have access to the internet. I want to mention that having access to internet is only important for the very first launch, as far as we're using Kubernetes. During its first start, it starts self-configuring, and it requires internet connection to configure DNS and so on. Right after this, when the first launch when the first launch finishes, the internet is not actually required for the solution. We can work in the isolated and the fully isolated environment also. Um, one more thing is that as far as we're using Kubernetes, it requires some DNS for the server subnet, or we're also by default we're also writing the DNS 8888 to our services. In case if some external DNS is not available in your case, because Kubernetes itself, it requires some external DNS. As for this point, by default, Acura was architected the way that it gets the IP address directly from the cloud. Of course, we do support a case where Acura is configured with some um, static network settings, but that's not just a regular case. And the most easily way to deploy it is actually use DHCP. It will get all the network settings itself and be self configured with this from the network point of view. Um, the next important thing is that the subnet that Kubernetes, our internal Kubernetes works in is this 10.25400 with mask 16. And because of this, the subnet that will be used for Acura should be different from this one because of the conflicts that may happen if the subnets are the same or overlaps. Um, so here are some set of ports that are used by Acura, and that's why are required from the firewall point of view, from the security point of view. So Acura uses port 443 to work with a client. I mean that, for example, web UI that is used by customer, it's also available by this port 443. The replication agents themselves, while they're interacting with Acro, while they are talking to Acro, they are also using the port 443. This port 4443 that is used for the initial configuration only, and once the initial configuration of the cluster is done, um, this port is closed and will not be available later. Uh, TCP, that's my typo. I will fix it before sending the presentation. It's actually UDP 12201. And this UDP 12201 is used to send logs to Acura. Actually, replication agents, as well as cloud agents and failback agents, all of them are sending. All of them send the logs via this port. As for these ports, they are mostly for administrative purposes. So, as we've previously mentioned, several services that are running inside Acro for administrative tools like PHP, MyAdmin, like Grafana, Kibana, all of them are running on these ports, and these ports are required to access these administrative services. As for the cloud agent itself, it requires 3 ports. Port 80 to get the data from Acura, port 3260 to it's used for SCSI to write the data to the storage with SCSI, and this port 15,000 is used to update cloud agent. As far as Cloud Agent itself has several Docker containers inside. These Docker containers are also updated via this port once the Acura itself is updated. The flow, how to get the image. I know that you all have already actually got through this point, but just wanted uh, to explain you a bit the flow. So partners or customers, they share storage account name with us and access key. And once we get this information, we share in the images, the image, Acura image. We during this procedure, we create a storage bucket in the provided storage account, and we actually create a page blob in the bucket. And directly from this page blob, later you're creating an Acura instance. Once the image is shared, uh, there needs to be disk created from this blob, and later create a VM from this disk with at least this flavor with 4 CPU and 60 GBs of RAM, 100 gigs. That's the minimum that we require. And one interesting thing that we've noticed in Azure, for example, um, when we used regular standard HDDs on Azure and moved to premium SSD, we've got the performance increase in like maybe 4 times better performance we've got with using SSDs instead of regular HDDs. There is some question that I've got. Oh, no, I don't see any questions. That's where, okay. Um, several notes also about the deployment process. Created security group should be applied to the instance. So during the deployment process, um, in Azure, there is a way to set some specific standard ports to Acura, but I want to note that to start using Acura, the security group needs to be configured first, because not all the services uh, will be available. For example, the API obviously will not be available without the port 443 opened and so on. And the next thing that we recommend to pair your service SSH key to the instance with Acura. And this way you will be able to connect to the instance itself using SSH with this user and your key, and do some service operations like get the states of all the pods and so on. So yeah, one question that I see. Um, Tony, thank you for the question. We can only have a single Acro host in a deployment. Um, we'll talk later in a separate session about how to deploy an HA Acro. So you'll be able to deploy an HA Acro. The controller itself will consist of at least 3 nodes uh, and provide high availability of the Acura cluster itself in this case. But that will be a separate session about this, because because it's not like a very trial process. And the way I'm talking today is about deploying single node. But in general, all the ports, everything will be the same, just spread between the HA cluster nodes. That's it. Um, sorry, sorry. Um, a couple of words about networking. We've already mentioned it a little bit, so I'm gonna talk more deeply about the interaction between the services. So client replication agents, they connect to the Acra controller via port TCP 443 and sending the logs via this port UDP 12201. So the internet itself is it's not required to get the data from the replication agents. The main point is that, of course, replication agents, they must have access to Acro controller. Either they are all in some isolated network or they are connected via some public network. So the main point is that they must have access via port 443 to Acro controller to send replicated data to the controller itself. And if this port is closed, even from the very beginning, for some specific agents, in case you're using, for example, some Windows VM and you have some um, firewall rules there, that are not that are denying an access, an external access for this port. In this case, after the agent is installed, replication agent is installed, the machine will not even appear in the interface because the agent will not be able to connect to Acra and even register itself. Um, so everything is ready from this side. I mean, the ports are open and the engine is ready to send the data. Send the data to Acura controller via this ports. And um, yeah, the the scheme here is actually quite common, but in case of Azure, it's going to be the same. We're using some Azure TCP ports to operate the API, and two ports that are required for Cloud Agent. That's for sure. That's the AT port and 3260 port. Um, these ports are used to to write the data, the iSCSI port, and to send the data from Acra, the AT port. So via the AT port, Acra sends the data from receiver to Cloud Agent, and that writes the data to the storage. And via this 15,000 port, Cloud Agent communicates with the control itself and gets the update once it's available from the controller side, because the update itself is most related to the controller, and right after that it's spread to the external services, to the external Acura services. Mostly that's it about the scheme and the initial configuration of the solution. I will also show where to get all the data that is required for the initial configuration from the target cloud. One more question that we got: every time we install Acro to customer side, Hystax creates an Acro image depending on the customer environment. I don't quite got the question. Sorry. I'm gonna read it one more time to try to understand. Every time we install Acro to customer side in the Azure, okay, Hashtags creates an Acro image depending on the customer environment. Okay, got it. In our latest release that we've recently had, we added for Azure ability to add several clouds to one Acura controller. So within one installation, there is a way to add separate accounts, separate subscriptions for Azure, and to write the data to different user accounts with even one Acura. Does this answer your question, Tony? Could you please reply? Okay, thank you. The initial configuration, it's a process of letting Acura know what target it will be running on and what endpoints it needs to use, what credential it needs to use to access the API and to call these APIs, where it needs to store the replicated data and so on. Um, this is like the default configuration that can be changed in case, for example, your cloud credentials are changed in some time. You can easily change it from the Acura UI, of course. Um, so the once the deployment is complete, we have created our instance. The instance itself is running. We've checked that okay, all the containers they are running, everything is fine. We can access the interface via Acro API. You can either use it with the port 4443 directly or just HTTPS and Acro IP, and in this way, automatically Acro will redirect you to the proper page with the initial configuration. And once the initial configuration is complete, this port 443 it becomes unavailable, and there is no way uh, to to pass the initial configuration one more time. Um, the initial configuration itself it contains three steps: admin user creation. That's like where you're creating the main admin user that will be operating Acroid. Will have partner admin rights. Um, target configuration, target cloud configuration is the page where we set all the cloud related parameters like resource groups, client ID, and so on and so forth, and actually logging in. So I'm gonna show you how it actually looks like. So here is my virtual machine with Acura. I have prepared a source group for it, Acura training. So all the resources related to this Acura will be in this particular resource group and can be easily found within it. And usually taking some time to load the data. Okay. Um, that's the standard network that's used in Azure, 10.0.0.0 and with mask 16. That's my public IP address. I'm gonna access Acra with this IP address. Mostly, yeah, my VPN's down. Sorry, I'm gonna connect to be. Yeah. So my security group is configured the way that that I can only access it via some particular IP addresses. So as you may see from my experience right now, that without the VPN, I couldn't even connect to without my VPN, I couldn't even connect to Acro because it's opened to only some specific ports. I can show you it here in the networking. That's just an example, yeah. So the wizard is here. The very first step is to provide the information about organization, about the partner user that will be used to access the Acura. For this training, I'm gonna create an organization like training 2, for example. And admin user, I want you to notion to mention that there is actually no validation for this email. So there is no email sent to this email about validation. Password. I'm gonna set my password here and just click next on this. Don't match. Sorry. Yeah. So Acro is now creating a user. The process took quite 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 a bit time, and the user is created, admin user is created. Next thing to do is to configure the cloud to provide information about the cloud to Acura. The IP address, public IP address, is detected automatically from Acura itself. As you may see, it's the same IP address that I use to connect to Acura. So subscription ID. To get my subscription ID, I'm simply going to my Azure and to subscriptions. That's the subscription ID that I need. I'm just copying it. So the next thing is application ID. It's also known as client ID. This client ID can be got from app registrations, right, from Azure, and this is the ID that I need to move forward. The tenant is the same. It's not the same, but it's located nearby with the application ID. I'm just also copying it. The region that I need, it's I don't remember the region. I need to check it first. Uh, So my Acura is running West US 2, and I'm gonna use West US 2 here. West US 2. Oh, sorry, West US 2. Goes this way. And I'm gonna copy the secret also from my app registrations. I have it already copied. So yeah, one thing that we need a client secret to access the API. I have my secret copied to my location. Just give me a second to find it. Azure. So my group name, I have group name Acura Training. That's the name of the resource group. And Cloud Agent Subnet, it's specified in the format network name / subnet name. And that's how it's shown for virtual machines. Also, that's the format. And I'm gonna use the same subnet that is used for Acura itself. I'm gonna click next and move back, and while the validation is still in progress, I'm gonna move to my presentation to talk a little bit more about the fields of the configuration. So the organization, it's a name of your organization. Admin user, it's an email that you want to be used to log into Acura Controller UI. Password is the password for this user. Uh, Subscription ID, yeah, we've taken it from directly from the cloud, is ID of Azure subscription. Client ID is application or client ID that we of the registered application. Um, so one of the steps for Azure is to create an application, to register an application with the contributor rights for Acquire, and during this process you'll get application ID and the tenant ID, as well as the secret that will be used to access the APIs of the cloud. Question we've got: a single Acura controller image can be deployed to multiple customers. A single Acura controller image can be used uh, to work with multiple customers. So I will show you once I pass the initial configuration how it looks like from the Acura point of view, but there is a way to add several accounts, several subscriptions to one Acura, and in this way to have only single Acura controller but operate with multiple customers. You may do it as you prefer. So either you can deploy a single instance for some particular customer, or you can use a single Acura controller for several customers, the way you prefer it. Several more values that we added to our initial configuration. Um, Account key, region, account key. Oh, let's skip from storage account key. Hey, looks like yeah, the presentation is a little bit outdated. Sorry, I will remove this because we don't need account key. Oh, that's the secret. Secret. Yeah, sorry about this. Um, Region, the name of the region that all the resources will be in. The name of the group, resource group of Acro Cloud Agent Subnet ID. In case of using the same subnet and the same network for Cloud Agent, it's not required to use an elastic IP for this, because Acura will connect to Cloud Agent itself via internal network. And one more thing is very specific to Azure, that it's that within the same region and within the same network, Azure allows to get the data and to send the data um, without any additional billing. But as for cross-region transmission of data and using public IP addresses and internet, in this case, Azure may itself bill the customer for the traffic. So it's important to keep this in mind during some specific cases of the customers that they may have. Also, some additional parameters that are available. You may have noticed a field here named additional parameters. Several additional parameters that are not, that can be used for some very specific cases that the customers may have. They are not quite regular. They are not quite obvious. That's why they are not here in the interface like separate fields. For example, uh, whether to use a Cloud Agent floating IP, it's very optional purpose. It's a very optional setting, and Acro can either create Cloud Agent machines without IP addresses if this parameter is not is not set, or with public IP addresses if this parameter is provided to Acura. By default, also Cloud Agent is using uh, about these resources, and to make it bigger, for example, some additional CPUs, RAM can be added during the initial configuration, or this can be also um, edit later once the validation is complete. Once the configuration is complete, this can also be changed. I mean, the flavor, depending on the flavor. In case of Azure, depending on the flavor that Cloud Agent uh, has. Acra attaches a specific number of volumes to each agent. So in case of Azure, we're using by default the flavor that allows to attach only 4 volumes, but it's cheap, and this can also be customized. So depending on the flavor that is used for the Cloud Agent, if it's bigger than the default one, in this case the agent Cloud Agent will be able to get more disks attached, and to get less number of Cloud Agents. But that will be more expensive for one specific Cloud Agent. I mean, the cost. So that's what I mentioned a Cloud Agent image name. We can use by default a Cloud Agent image name that we create. It's Hystax Acura, and this is the default name that is used, and that Acura is related on when creating new agents. So this can be also in some cases customized when it's required for, I don't know, some specific customer to have some specific um, Cloud Agent version, or so on. But that's not a very regular case. For example, the next thing that can be configured, Cloud Agent volume type. By default, it's standard, but um, up to customers, they can configure Cloud Agent volume type to be more to have more performance, to put it on SSD, for example. And not so much left here. Cloud Agent Network, but that can be overwritten. Some availabilities on that may be set right from these parameters, or failover volume type, as well as is done for Cloud Agent volume type. So either to use SSD or HDD in some particular cases, like premium SSD by default, or so on. Um, so that's, oh, looks like I missed, that's the list of the regions. Yeah, and my typo here was to use the wrong format. So here you may see, in case of error, you may see like the list of regions that are available with their correct format. And now I'm gonna start the validation one more time. What's going on right now from a target sign point of view? We are creating a volume. It's a test volume. I may even see it somewhere here. Quite a lot of volumes. It's the validation volume is, it's called Hystax Availability Test Agent itself. That's the the name of the um, Cloud Agent that is created during the validation. So during the validation process, we are creating a test volume to check that we are available, we are able to operate the API and to create volumes, as well as we are creating a test Cloud Agent to check that we are actually ready to create test agents and to write data to the attached disks. Creating cloud agent, each of the stages of the validation process, they are written in the interface, and so on each point you may understand what's going on from the backend point of view and from the target cloud itself, from the virtual machines. Yeah, yeah, I have this. I have this test agent, test cloud agent that is now creating in my particular resource group. The agent will go to the running state. It will get the attached volume, and it will be just removed. Right after this, the configuration process will be done itself, and I will move forward to show you the how to operate with separate multiple clouds. So as for the presentation, that's it from my side. So one thing left is to show you how to operate with multiple clouds and how to add them as many as you need for some specific customers. And if you have more questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Checking the connection to the cloud agent via the ports that are required. And looks like we're almost done. One more question, got. Um, Cloud agent connection check-in is done by Acura controller. Yeah, yeah. So Acura is checking that it can access cloud agent, and will be able to proceed with replications. Now volume was attached, then now it's detaching from the cloud agent. So during this validation, we're in a very quick way checking that all the flow that the replication consists of, it will work, as well as the failover flow, because failover flow it also includes working with the cloud agent. So on this stage, we're checking that everything from the cloud side is ready to start a new replication once the agent is complete. Yeah, we're almost done here. The static, one more question that we've got. The static IP of the Acro controller is set in the cloud environment. The static IP can be set from SSH. So my connection was broken. The network settings can be set directly from the console. Uh, Inside Acro, there is Ubuntu running, and the network is configured as a regular Ubuntu static network. That's it. Yeah, everything's configured. Now I can log in with the user that I've previously created. Back. Created my user. Here is the interface that the partner will see once he logs in. That's the button that is responsible for the clouds. That's the cloud that has been created during our validation process. It's in state validated. That means that we have checked everything already for this particular cloud. Uh, some information that can be also changed about this cloud. And here easily we may add a different cloud with different subnet ID, different application ID, different tenant secret, and everything can be different. It can be in different region and so on and so forth. Just one thing to keep in mind that um, the Acura controller itself will need to have access to cloud agent to send him the data, to send the data to it. Uh, and each particular customer that I'm going to create some demo customer. Um, each particular customer may be assigned to some specific cloud. So if I have like 10 clouds, for example, added to this particular installation, I will have a drop down list here with all the clouds that are added to my Acura, and I may assign some specific customer to his own cloud. So mostly that's it from my side. If you have any more questions, I will wait for a while for them to appear. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I will send you the recording itself about and the presentation, so you'll be able to watch it anytime you like it. Um, One more question: can you restore a backup when Acro controller is down? Um, no, because there is no way to upgrade the volume. So during the failover process, for example, we are of course doing some P2V, V2V, and so on, and all of this is done by Acro controller. And if Acro controller is down, there is no way to start a cloud site, because there will be no P2V, V2V for the machines, and as well as partitioning. But in case of having HA, for example, yes, I mean that we have 3 nodes. One of the nodes is down. We can easily use the rest 2 nodes to upgrade. The question: you cannot download a backup copy and restore it manually. Um, no, because there is no way again to download it. Or you mean the Acro itself? I don't quite got the question. You cannot download a copy, a backup copy, and restore it manually. If you mean the replicated machine, okay, the volume they will be the disks they will be still in the target cloud, but in case of just downloading them via regular Azure APIs. There need to be some also P2V and V2V for the machine to boot in some other cloud and to get it restored. So if Acura is down, no, obviously no operations around Acura may be done. Cannot boot a backup copy in the target cloud. You mean a backup copy of Acura controller? I mean, looks like some misunderstanding. You cannot boot a backup copy in the target cloud. Tony, are you talking about the replicated machines or the backup copy created by a controller in target cloud? You cannot boot directly a machine from the disk that is created by Acro controller, because this disk, it doesn't have required drivers, it doesn't have required partitioning to boot from. So without Acro, you will not be able to use these disks to launch a failover machine. Okay, so it looks like we're done with the questions also. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention again. Have a good day, and we'll be looking forward to getting some feedback from you also. Bye.